Hello, everyone. We will regularly bring you stories you like. Growing up on a farm, I knew that if I wanted to see more of the world than just the local tractor parts supply store, I needed to join the military. We weren't very destitute, but we were also lower middle class. My mother made my clothes, and we never went on vacation. From the time I was 7 years old, I spent the most of my days manually loading and stacking bales of hay straw and alfalfa. When I graduated from high school, against her parents' desires, my best buddy and I served in the Marines for 4 years, stationed at 2 locations in the United States, but also in South Korea and Japan. I felt at ease with shorter people because I was only 5'6'7" in tall. Because of cultural differences, we were advised to spend the most of our vacation time in American-friendly clubs and entertainment. My friend Jacob and I went to as many tourist sites as possible, knowing we'd never get another chance to see them again. I spent half of my money on the ladies and attempted to send the other half back home. Jacob needed to be treated for the clap multiple times. I chose the safer option of condoms and was spared from STDs. We participated in every extracurricular activity that piqued our interest, even the numerous contests that my fellow Marines could only dream about. By the time we were honorably discharged, everyone referred to me as Army. Even if my name is Dawson Bosk, when we went home, Jacob kept calling me Army, and it stuck. The locals picked up on the nickname, misinterpreting it as a dig at my time in the Marine Corps. I never rectified them in the service. I learned to ignore slights and plunder. Our farming town did not provide many job prospects outside of farming and construction. I did not wish to live far from my parents. I had traveled the world and wanted to settle down since I grew up farming. I decided on construction. I was a laborer who worked hard, loading and unloading bricks, blocks, sheetrock trusses, and of course, stud lumber. I was assigned to deliver and manually stack loads in areas where Ford trucks could negotiate. I'm no stranger to hard work. I could work all day and never get tired. Sure, at the end of the day, I'd take a shower, relax, and have a few beers with my pals when I met Bella at Higgins' restaurant. It was love at first sight. She was the most attractive female I'd ever seen, and I had seen a lot of them. I must have asked her out 30 times before she accepted. I believe she did this to get me to stop asking. We hit it off famously. We got along like peas in a pod. 2 more compatible individuals were unthinkable. She has it all: looks, personality, and humor. And wow, did she have curves in the perfect places and know how to work them. After 9 months of regular dating, I proposed. We got married 6 months later. Bella and I were both 24, and we couldn't be happier. We discussed starting a family. We promised to save enough money for a child without putting too much hardship on our restricted salaries. By the time we had paid our apartment rent and fulfilled our monthly bills, we were almost tattooed. We basically lived hand to mouth. Somerville, the state's 3rd largest city, was 40 miles from our hometown of Belford. Kensington is a thriving bedroom community where many Somerville commuters dwell. Kensington, barely 22 miles from Beeford, was developing new companies to meet the rising demands of its citizens. Stokes Exercise Palace, for example, was a co-ed gym that catered to both men and women's exercise needs. Amy, you're going to be surprised by what I heard today. Is there another sale at the dollar store? I was joking. No, that's stupid. Brenda, my buddy had lunch at the restaurant today and informed me about a new fitness gym that is launching in Kensington. They'll be interviewing possible hires over the next week or so. She was told the beginning salary for new recruits. Honey, if they hire me, I'll make around 30% more than I do now in salaries and tips at the restaurant. I may be close to the amount you bring home. Isn't it wonderful? She declared. We can start saving money for a family. I want us to finally have the baby we've wanted for so long. I hear what you are saying. But what do you know about fitness and clubs? If you require a degree or something? I'm not sure what the prerequisites are for any of these employment, and I won't know unless I go for an interview. Connie agreed to come in early and cover for me so I could go to Stokes Fitness Palace for an interview, and I'll remain for a few hours to cover for her this evening. Brenda stated that she heard they accept walk-ins. There are no appointments necessary. Honey, I don't think it would hurt to check out what kinds of career prospects they have. There were many other prospects in B. Ford. If you acquire the job, you will have to commute the distance every day. I wouldn't get my hopes up. But you should give it a shot. You weren't going to believe me after work the next day, but they gave me a job at Stokes Fitness Palace in Kensington. With you had mentioned to me, yes, they are going to pay me 25% more than I am already making after a 2E performance evaluation. The fee could increase by up to 30%, as Brenda mentioned. It almost sounds too wonderful to be true. What specifically will you do for them, Bella? That is the finest part. Audi, they have their own internal on-the-job training program. They will instruct me on all of their machines and strength training equipment. Once I am up to speed, they will make me the floor manager. I'll assist anyone unfamiliar with the equipment they established. That over time, if I find myself, I could become a trainer, which would increase my compensation by 20%. Isn't it wonderful? Bella enthusiastically declared. When do they want you to start? I informed them that I would need to give at least 1 week's notice. To the eerie, I don't want to leave them in a difficult situation. They stated that was all right with them. Are you still okay with this? It appears like we will be able to begin saving more money for our family's future. As soon as you believe we can afford it, I want to have your baby, honey. Bella CED, nothing could please me more. I should. Bella first dressed conservatively for her new profession, wearing conventional pants and colorful button tops. After a month, she bought 5 pairs of yoga pants and matching halter tops. She stated that her attire should suit the gym atmosphere. That's something I could understand. 3 months later, she started wearing Space Handex short shorts. I didn't like it because I could also see her candle. She dismissed my concerns as overprotective and showed me images from the gym indicating that all of the other girls dressed similarly to her. She even began getting monetary tips from some of the individuals she assisted in various ways to allay my concerns. I left work early one day and unexpectedly dropped by Stokes Fitness Palace. I watched her for a few minutes before she recognized me and came over to greet me. She wasn't doing anything inappropriate or provocative that would make me concerned. "Hello, baby. What are you doing here?" she says. "I just wanted to see where my wife works. This is a really wonderful facility. I am amazed. I'm glad you stopped by, soldier. Come on, let me present you to my supervisor," she insisted. She led me to a hulk of a man. "Gerald, this is my spouse, Dawson Bosk. Everyone nicknamed him Mummy Army. This is Gerald Jenkins. Everyone nicknamed him Goliath. For obvious reasons, we shook hands. Goliath tried to scare me with his script without being overt. He was as powerful as an ox. Yet I didn't flinch. He was easily 6'2", and I was 5'9". I knew my manner to be 175 stocky pounds, and I assessed his to be at least pound 245 of lean muscle. He was ripped, an evident bodybuilder, the ideal advertisement for the fitness club. We both grinned enthusiastically. For Bella's sake, someone called him away, so Bella gave me the full tour and described most of their procedures. I did notice 2 of their female co-workers dressed identically to her. I am pleased I stopped by. It affects my thoughts significantly. Bella's libido began to improve. Soon after that meeting, we had rowdy sex almost every night. She ascribed her increased hunger to her workouts, fitness, and improved diet. She shed some fat and replaced it with muscle, not wanting to waste a good thing. I eagerly absorbed her new libidinous vigor which usually left us breathless after each union. She never mentioned the gentleman she worked with, not even Goliath, which I interpreted as a positive omen. Then came the day that altered our lives forever, Friday night. Bella mentioned a change in her routine. Honey, I know I don't typically work weekends, but the gym is having a big promotion tomorrow, and they need all hands on deck. A really important event is going place at 7:00 p.m. It's a private event, not open to the entire public, but they want all spouses to attend. I want to show you off to everyone. My hubby, will you make an extra effort to attend? Please, pretty please, she inquired, rubbing her eyes at me in a coyish attitude. What kind of promotion, Bella? I'm not going to join up for any of their programs. I get a lot of exercise delivering deliveries. I promise they will not try to sign you up for anything. So what is it? Then are you receiving a new order? Something could be. She spoke invasively. Following this advertising event, we may be able to begin expanding our families sooner rather than later. You'll simply have to come and find out. I am not at liberty to say anything else. Well, I'll be there then to see what the big deal is that night. She exhausted us both so much that I could barely move. She had already left when I awoke on Saturday. I called my friend Jacob and spent the majority of the day assisting him with his car repairs. He was continuously modifying it, splitting it up, increasing the horsepower. I informed him of my talk with Bella regarding tonight's unusual events. I told him my spider sense was tingling, but I couldn't pinpoint what was causing it. "Hello, Guy," Jacob began. "Why don't I come with you tonight to support you? If you have any concerns on top of that, come on in, and I'll show you my latest gadget. I wanted a poker game." A few weeks ago, it's a little pen voice recorder that can last up to 70 hours on a single charge. It features a built-in USB speed adapter to download the recordings, twist the top, and turn it on. It functions perfectly as a pen. So no one knows a friend of mine who lost to me in the poker game decided to videotape his girlfriends off since they had sex. I tested it. It can pick up clear audio from roughly 40 ft away. Wow, this resembles a spy gadget. I doubt it will be needed, but it won't hurt to have it on hand, just in case. Thanks hell. The two of us arrived at Stokes Fitness Palace a few minutes before 7. A burly man approached the door and asked for identification. I showed him my driver's license, and he nodded in agreement when Hall attempted to enter with me. The person stopped him and said, "Sorry, but this is a closed event, and you are not invited, just Mr. Bostix." I looked the guy in the eye and replied, "No problem, come on, help, let's go. If you can't get in, I can't either." "Hey mate, make sure you inform Bella Bostic that her hubby attempted." We began strolling back to the house with the automobile. "Yes, sir. Your VIP guests." "All fine. We'll let you front." "Come on, however, I will need to collect your cell phones before you enter. As previously said, this is a private event, and no photographs are permitted." We hesitantly handed in my phones, which he placed into individual manila envelopes labeled with our names. "They will be returned to you once you leave the premises. Security and protection. The envelopes will stay sealed until they are returned." He secured the door behind us. As we entered the residence, we noticed 2 enormous tables with candles on top in the center of the gym, with a large group of men standing about, working out, warming up for something, or being escorted. He asked how to wade through the gym while leading me to an office where Bella was waiting. I nodded to Jacob, indicating that I was fine. He relaxed and began walking around the gym. We entered an office and the door closed behind us. I noticed Gerald Goliath Jenkins sitting at a table across from me. Bella stood by his side, wearing a dark robe of some type. 5 additional guys emerged behind me, having been waiting for my arrival. "Hey, Bella, what is going on? Why are you wearing a robe rather than your ordinary clothes?" I asked, following my question. Bella looked uneasily at Goliath, who nodded at her, before instructing Bella. Nearly shivering, did show him. Do you swear he wouldn't recall anything? Not one thing. I swear on my life, darling. P, go ahead, show him. Bella took off her robe, leaving her in the most basic bikini bathing suit I'd ever seen before in my life. There were 3 postage stamp-sized pieces of fabric clinging to her body with thin spaghetti straps. There was almost nothing left to the imagination. I asked Bella to tell me what was going on. Why are you almost naked in this room, in front of all these men? Have you cheated on me? Is this how you rub it in my face? I asked in a furious tone. I mean, it's not what you expect. Well, it sort of is, but not really, honey. It's lovely. After tonight, we'll finally have enough money to start our family. We won't have to wait any longer to start making babies. That is exactly what this is about, really. I am doing this for us. What exactly are you talking about? Bella, put your clothes back on and we'll leave this area right now. Come on, Az. I reached for your hand. Goliath stood up and walked in front of her. I'm afraid I cannot accept that Amy Bella is here for the night. You will get her back safely tomorrow, but tonight she belongs here. There is nothing you can do to prevent it, he announced quickly. I just cannot. But as I moved to grab her, the 5 guys behind me suddenly surrounded me and held me securely in place so that they could hear him. Bella shouted, even a single hair on his head is affected, then the transaction is off. Goliath accepted her remark and told the boys to be careful around me. Why don't I get you up to speed on me? What did you do in the army? I was never in the army. I served in the Marine Corps. I was nicknamed Army. What the hell did they do? That did your friends believe you weren't good enough for the Marines? He chuckled. Someone better tell me what's going on here, or they'll be hell to pay. I yelled. Okay, Army, I hear you. Okay, here's the deal. I like your little wife Bella here a lot. I've been flirting with her for a long time, trying to get inside her panties, but she refuses to give up. We have done a lot of passionate kissing and making out. I understand I sent her home hot as hell on numerous times, but she refused to let me try the goods. I spoke with her extensively about what it would take when she told me that you two were trying to build a nest egg to grow your family. I thought about it and came up with an idea. I told her I could throw out some feelers for an arm wrestling contest. If there was enough interest, she may share the part with the winner. If the winner was also promised a whole night of passion with her, she initially opposed the notion, but then began asking me questions regarding the amount of money I was referring to, and the number of contestants. I knew I had a hook. Then all I had to do was flesh out the details of my plan. Goliath continued. I knew she was as attracted to me as I was to her. I promised her that if she worked with me, she might walk away with 20,000, and the opportunity to spend a night of love with me. She inquired how we might accomplish it. I requested her to record a nude masturbation video at home alone that I could show potential contenders to pique their interest in competing for both the cash prize and a night with her. The entry cost was set to $1,000. When enough people expressed interest, I started setting it up. But there was still one issue. The infidelity issue persisted, worrying her too much. So I had another idea. I asked her, what if you had the chance to compete as well? If you somehow won, she wouldn't have to give the night of passion, and you two would walk away with the entire prize money. The slight chance that you could stop her persuaded her to think about it. Goliath took a sip of water before continuing. She insisted that you would never allow such an event to occur without it having a negative impact on your marriage, possibly terminating it. The girl adores you. I will offer her that. So I devised a solution for it too, after you lose and the contest is over. These 5 boys will bring you back to this office and keep you inebriated. Then they'll administer a dose of ketamine. Veterinarians use this medication to provide anesthesia for horses and other animals. People discovered that it works well as a date rape drug, since it not only erases memory for roughly 24 hours, but also swiftly metabolizes in the body, making it impossible to detect with drug testing street names for the exclusive K-Cat Valley and Kit Kat. That is why I can tell you everything openly and without fear of repercussions, because you will not remember anything I say to you tonight. Nothing na zip. So 40 men have joined up to compete for the cash prize in a night with your wife and the strongest man in the building. By far, I've led them to believe that they all have an equal chance of winning, but they don't. I'm going to win the 40 grand. Split it between Bella and Tucker. Every which way all night long, while you're drunk and thoughtless. You'll go home tomorrow and sleep it off. I'll drop off your wife at your house afterwards. I simply cannot bring it up another time. Will you eventually awaken? She'll explain how she won $2,000 in a contest, and you two love birds, can start having babies to your heart's content. You will remember something. She will have her money, and I'll have done my best to wear out or cry the entire night. Gerald, you just made a huge mistake, I cajoled. Yeah, what is that? He smirked. You simply gripped these 5 firearms as planned. So why would they want to imprison me right now? I inquired. It's a valid question. He believes these 5 understand better than anyone else that they have no chance against me. So your wonderful wife has already paid them in full, in advance, to care after you and ensure everything goes as planned, so they will not compete tonight. Bella paid them? I was puzzled. That's correct. Chump, the person to my immediate left, blurted. She handed the 5 of us blue jobs earlier today. I really envy you how your wife has excellent cooking skills. I'm considering hiring her to teach my wife how to do it as she did. He goated Bella and smiled as I said, Is that true? Did you assign all 5 of these individuals blue jobs before I arrived? She had the foresight to gaze down at the floor rather than lie to me. Sorry for disappointing you fellows. I have no interest in competing in any event with the goal of winning anything, especially anything involving her. You can do whatever you want with her. I'm out of here. I noticed this as I sought to depart. I am afraid we cannot allow you to do that. Amy Goliath repeated. The agreement is a deal. I gave you away on the promise that you would wrestle the winner of tonight's event for money in her honor. Then I told her that you would have no recollection of anything said or done. Tonight, the lax. I no longer care who she talks to sucks, or for how long. Right now, all I want is to divorce the backstabbing witch as quickly as possible. Bella began sobbing at my harsh language and feelings. He said, Pay no attention to anything. Bella has already said, he will have no recollection. Tomorrow he'll be your ever-loving husband once again. Goliath stated, You have my word. Bella grinned weakly. It is encouraging, in light of my caustic threat, to divorce her. Enough chit-chat. Let's get out there and get things started. Goliath insisted. When the contestants saw my wife's nearly naked body, the 5 of them violently marched me out of the gym. They went crazy with applause and catcalls. I looked around, but couldn't see my pal Jacob. Where is he? I questioned your friend. He chose not to stick around. After all, we did not want to compel him to stay, so we letted him to depart. Sorry, one of the 5 people informed. I knew he had departed of his own volition. They got him to go. I also knew he would not leave me. I figured he must be parked close. He was right. Goliath wore a thin jacket to disguise his massive muscles. He didn't want to frighten any of the candidates by raising their expectations of plucking a rabbit out of a hat. He began addressing the gathering. All right, everyone, this is exactly what we've been waiting for. All 40 of us paid our $1,000 registration fee, and signed the regulations disclaimers, and waiver document Stokes Fitness Palace shall be held harmless in the event of any injuries resulting from this game. This is a double elimination competition. If you lose, once you will get another chance to participate and win the tournament. The best 2 of 3 wins. If you lose twice, you're gone. Now Bella, the girl here, wants a fair and square contest. She insisted that her husband Tommy, too, be given the opportunity to defend her chastity. He'll wait. Dressel, the #1 competitor, loses to the winner and wins it all does. Everyone understand in what degree? All the males nodded. Acknowledgement. Excellent. He added, the winner will be awarded the title, trophy, and a $40,000 prize, but each of us has already decided to split the winnings with our girlfriend Bella. He should receive $220,000 regardless of who wins, and the winner will have an allied love fest with her. You have all watched her video. Some lucky guy is about to have the night of his life. Everyone was yelling and roaring with excitement for the contest as Bella danced and writhed her body seductively for their enjoyment. We have 2 very prominent gentlemen here today, Mr. Justin Albright and Mr. Kevin Saunders, who are sanctioned referees for the World Wrestling Federation, and they'll be officiating every game tonight. They are neutral, and their word is final and cannot be questioned to speed things up. We'll be running 2 arm wrestling tables with hand packs. At the same time, the hand packs are designed to provide you extra power and leverage. 2 matches at a time will provide each player an equal chance to win. We own a computer. Randy came up with the name Generator. The first 20 matches are set using a pair of pants. All of the results will be logged, and the computer will generate the second set of pairings, and so on until we get to the final 2. If you've been eliminated from the competition, you're urged to stay and cheer on your teammates during their matches. The 2 wrestling tables were identical and were meant for standing rather than seated matches to avoid discomfort and damage. Each athlete wore padded elbow pads and placed their elbow down while wrestling the touchpad, so the raised pads on opposing sides of the table, where each participant is attempting to push his opponent's hand to a projector project the paired names onto a screen from an overhead projector. The sequence was easily recognizable and evident to all participants. The 2 tables were about 10 feet apart. Bella stood between the tables, making a last-minute statement. Hello, fellas. I wish each of you the best of luck tonight, and just to emphasize my point, immediately before you fight. If you need a little additional encouragement, every one of you is welcome to squeeze my melons for good luck. She giggled. The guys swooped in and yelled even more. The first 4 candidates accepted her offer, igniting their melons in succession. Then they prepared for the match. To ensure compliance, the referees reiterated the regulations for each game. When they said go, each man nodded in agreement, and it was on. You've never heard such screams and groans as each man worked tirelessly to defeat his opponent. Everyone who wasn't competing at the time cheered for those who were. It was an enthusiast melee. I sat in disgust, watching my wife readily LED other men to play with her melons. Melons that I had foolishly imagined were mine alone. My soul was boiling over with betrayal and humiliation as a result of her brazen shamelessness. With 2 bouts taking place in just 3 minutes, the first round was completed in under 30 minutes. The second round, which allowed for double elimination, took an additional half hour. So after the first hour, half of the participants were removed. The remaining 20 were quickly paired up by the algorithm in random order. Bella decided to make things more intriguing for the remaining contenders. She authorized fill-ups of her crotch, and groups like these provided incentive to the remaining competitors. Every man took advantage of her. It was sitting to see her become caught up. She seemed to enjoy the attention and invited each man to assist himself after 5 additional bouts over the next 15 minutes. There were 10 winners and losers. Another quarter hour reduced the field to only 10 final candidates. After an hour and a half, testosterone filled the room, fueled by machismo prize money and a much-anticipated night of pleasure. With my wife, the vibe was palpable. I sat down, horrified, in a chair on one side of the gym, away from the action. Bella continued gazing my direction, encouraging me to join the fight, but every time she comes back to me, I simply turn my head to the side and ignore her. The 5 looks never left me. If I had tried to run for the door, I knew I wouldn't have made it. 5FT, the following 30 minutes, were spent narrowing down the contenders to the semi-final pairings. Of course, the candidates kissed and groped, Bella helping themselves to all of her possessions with their hands. In the end, the semi-final battle pitted Goliath against another powerfully mused man. Goliath easily won the set, leaving him as the opponent I would face. Just as he had prophesied, the referee advised Goliath to take 15 minutes to relax and recover. Before facing me in the final match, he left them off, implying that I was an insignificant net to him and that he needed no time to recuperate before confronting me. His win was a certainty. Goliath nodded at the 5 who took me to the final table. The referee stood ready to officiate the night's final match, declaring a clear winner as I hesitantly stood across the table from the speaker and another man. It was clear that not a single individual in the room thought I had any chance of winning. There was smoking and joking in acknowledgement that Bella was Goliath's prize, and they put an end to the sensual pleasures he would learn about my wife. As I stood before the table, the gathering gradually quieted down, and I began to talk. As I walked to see the $40,000 prize money, I asked, "Why would you want to see it?" "Little man, you have no chance in hell of winning it. Goliath brags about it." Perhaps so. I forgot, however, everyone here has been looking to my wife for inspiration before their match. I just want to see the money for mine. That does not infringe any rules. "Does it?" I inquired. "I suppose not, little man." He motioned to one of the 5 who went into the office to grab the lockbox containing the cash. He opened it so that I could see. Thus far so good. Could one of the referees immediately counter to confirm everything is there? Goliath nodded again. "Mr. Albright, would you please do the honors?" Referee Justin Albright immediately sorted and validated the total amount of $40,000. "Sir, I have requested, if you don't mind. I'd like you to hang on to that until the end of the finals, so it can be awarded right away. Just look at Goliath," he added. "Go ahead, your reputation is impeccable. We fully trust you, Justin." Then held the 2 in thick lead stack of 400 Mahundradux close to his body for security. "Are you satisfied with AMI?" Goliath smirked completely. "I verified good enough for today. Let's get it. Nothing about the match is done, so I can start ducking your wife. Come here, honey. Give me another sample of that delicious honey pot," he boasted. "That will be all mine in just a few minutes." Bella approached him and gave him the most passionate French kiss he had ever experienced, seeing her deliver. Her hands carefully stroked his crotch in front of the entire audience, while Goliath took her top down and circled her melons directly in front of me. I had never felt so outraged and embarrassed in my life. After he'd gotten his fill of Bella's temptations, she went toward me to inspire me. Just as I had stopped her dead in her tracks, I chastised in a clear voice, "Never touch me again. Bella, maybe tomorrow. I won't remember anything from tonight, but I hope you will remember what I am about to say for the rest of your life. 20 grand for a night of unrestricted sex with you may make you an expensive, but it will make you horny. Nonetheless, you are nothing more than a cheating slave, and if I had my way, I would divorce your peach. Right now, you detest me. Did you put your peach behind me? So I wouldn't have to look at you. In that way, Gerald is unable to view his for inspiration, and I don't need to look at you. Just looking at you makes me want to vomit all over your lover boy here. Bella burst into tears as a result of my strong criticism. Every man in the building grew enraged at my harsh remarks about the sex kitten they'd grown to lust for as she walked behind me. In response to my request, Goliath defended his knightly charge. Who the hell do you think you are? You cannot speak to her. Her like way he gave a command. She used to be my wife. But if I had the physical and mental capacity to remedy that error before I left this building, she wouldn't be my wife any longer. Then she could tuck all 40 of you and have all of your babies. For all I care, I used to love her, but now I despise her even more. She definitely would not be bearing any of my children. I was outraged. The room fell silent, in surprise at my words, but all attitudes remained strongly in Stack's favor. Enough with your grandiose talk, little man. Put your arm up here, and I'll put you in your proper position. And silence that mouth, Goliath commanded. Everyone celebrated Goliath's audacity, knowing he would keep his promise, and knowing I had no choice. I raised my comparatively little arm against the mountain of muscle that Goliath displayed to me. We linked hands tightly to ensure there were no slits or trickery before Kevin Saunders reviewed the regulations one last time before signaling the start. I heard Bella behind me tell Goliath not to hurt me if he had his way. I'm certain he would have shattered my arm, however he knew Mum would be upset with him if anything bad happened to me. So he assured her he'd let me believe I had a chance. I was fishing for everything I was worth. Our hands did not move. It seemed like I was pressing against a piece of steel. He asked a friend to call in 30 seconds, which sounded forever. Then he boasted loudly, "I'm going to educate you in muscle therapy, little man." He grinned and began pressing my hand firmly against the table. My hand and wrist quiver like a leaf in his grip as I resisted the downward arc. With all my strength, it was not enough. My wrist slammed the cushion bar in slow motion as the referee declared Goliath the winner of the match. The gathering exploded in deafening acclaim for his victory over the lousy sport and the husband. I took a few steps away from the table, performed some deep breathing, and swung my arms to shake off the boss that is 2 out of 3. I remembered as I quickly returned my arm on the table. Goliath laughed in my face. "You clearly know nothing about muscles. Little men performing muscles are anaerobic. All the deep breathing in the world won't save you from an inevitable defeat. By the time I'm done ducking your wife all night, her child will be too sharp to touch for a week. I promise, Sheila." And every penny of the 20,000 the gathering erupted again in a roar of enthusiasm for Goliath's allegation. These statements only make me angrier. Kevin repeated the instructions and signaled us to begin. Goliath smiled widely. I was again pressuring him for everything I was worth. I used to pack and twist my hips to achieve maximum leverage against him. After around 10 seconds, he began pressing down to secure his last victory. My palm shook like a leaf, trembling again as adrenal and fueled my strength. He could push me about a fourth of the way down before I felt something. It was an unusual sensation. He seemed to have reached his limit. My arm stopped shaking and focused on its objective. I groaned aloud. While giving it my all, I huffed and puffed like a marathon runner. Then something happened. His hand relentlessly drained my stamina. We pressed against his limited reserves, and disbelieving audience became silent as they watched me press Goliath's head down toward his side of the table. I can practically feel the gas draining from his tank as he weakened against my arm's endurance. The referee clapped his hand to acknowledge the pin. You might have heard a pin drop on the ground. The surprise was unprecedented. He jerked back from the table. "Shocked, no," he exclaimed. There is no way in hell he defeated me. That was a fluke. You are going down, boy. I'm going to squish you like a book. There will be no more messing around. Let us do this. He placed an order. He threw his jacket aside and used both hands to remove his t-shirt from his body. His musculature glittered in the light, and the facets of his ripped hats and shoulder muscles made every male in the room envious. Goliath threw his arms back like the Incredible Hulk and snarled in wrath at his humiliating defeat. He slapped his elbows down on the table, challenging me to the last match. One of us was ready to face his second loss and ultimate defeat. He was bound and determined that it should be me. I disregarded his shenanigans. I'd seen this kind of bluster before taking on the big man's challenge. I repeated my deep breathing techniques to increase the oxygen levels in my blood. I wanted this next encounter to happen sooner rather than later so that he could build his reserve. Kevin completed his professional obligations and signaled the start. I knew that Goliath Sanger would force him to give. His initial endeavor is solely to prevent a repeat of my barbarian win. He rode out in wrath, shoving my arm with all of his strength in one motion. All I had to do was restrain my arm from dropping all the way down and wait it out. My wrist was just an inch from becoming pinched. My hands and wrists shook like leaves again, shaking in response to his huge effort. All I could do was hold my own against his search. Then I heard a voice calling from behind me. "Come on, Goliath. Take him down, so the boy who is the true man is here. Finish him, so I can have you between my legs. Finish him. Do it now." Steve surged. Bella's candor and lustful encouragement enthralled the audience, but he didn't anticipate the impact her remarks would have on me. Enraged, my body was flooded with a fresh burst of adrenaline, which combined with my regular breathing. I heaved a heavy groan. A new burst of energy broke the deadlock we had been at. For about 45 seconds, our hands raised slowly and started moving in the opposite direction. I felt his arm give again as I firmly engaged in my relentless pressure. Our hands went over the top and down, putting the back of his hand in the opposite way it wanted to travel. He groaned and twisted his body harder, attempting to extract an ounce of torque from his leverage to no effect. As Kevin declared, "My victory," I shoved his wrist on the padded mat with all of my remaining reserves. I did it. I defeated Goliath twice out of 3. It was finally over. Silence reigned as Goliath asked in amazement, "How in the hell did you accomplish that? I never lost to someone as little as you. I need to know," he pleaded. "I'll answer your inquiry if you give me your word under 2 conditions that I offered," he conceded. Number 1. I'm handed the winnings before I even give my answer, which is the complete $440,000. Second, after my explanation, I went to work on my own without anyone trying to stop me. "Have I got your word?" I stipulated. Goliath nodded his approval hand over the money. Just then he handed me the cash, and I hurriedly tucked a stack of 20s into my jeans pocket in case it was needed. It took some effort, but I got it done. I want everyone to know that Mr. Bostic won this contest fairly and square, whether we like it or not. He will not be touched. After his explanation, Goliath argued that he would be free to leave here. Bella just stood there, shocked silence, reassured. I decided to fill everyone in. I've spent my entire life either working on a farm or in construction. I've dealt with huge loads on a daily basis. I've been doing this almost non-stop my entire life. I may not have acquired well-defined bulging muscles in my arms like many others here, but the muscles I did build provided me with endurance, stamina, and strength. When I joined the Marines, I was stationed for a few years with the 12th Marine Regiment in Camp Hansen in Okinawa, Japan, as well as a Camp Music Marine Corps post in South Korea, right outside Pohang, near the eastern shoreline, We were advised not to mix too much with the locals because of cultural differences. They recommended staying close to marine-friendly facilities. That being the case, we got quite clever in devising creative methods to spend the time with a lot of testosterone, saturating the base, just like it is here tonight. I'm wrestling, quickly become a popular way to relieve tension and boredom. We quickly developed weight classes, but we wanted to explore how far we could go by comparing the best of each mana class to the best of heavier classes. After a year of arm wrestling, I had yet to lose a match. One of the Bass physicians gave me a special examination to see how I was able to defeat opponents twice my size. He assumed that my arms were predominantly supported by aerobic slow-twitch muscles. People like you, who lift heavy weights for brief periods of time, build rapid twitch muscles which provide quick bursts of energy. My arms may not be as strong as others, but I have endurance and stamina. My arms can work all day as long as I breathe and supply the oxygen they require. I prevailed against you not by pure strength, but by outlasting you as your anaerobic muscles ran out of gas. Even though I was in the Marines, they dubbed me Army. For two reasons. The term Army implies strong, and I also became well known for my artwork. So there you have it. I have given you my explanation. Now I'll depart and let you get on with whatever you want to do tonight. I stood calmly and began to move toward the entrance. Everyone remained motionless and silent. They were still shocked. Then Bella called out for me. "Honey, this is fantastic. Hold on and I'll drive us home," she implored. "I will wait outside, go put on some clothing before heading home." I replied. She interpreted my comment as a gesture of encouragement. I intended for it to be nothing more than a stalling ploy to give me time to escape. She dashed to the office to change back into her regular clothes as they dashed outside to seek assistance. "When you saw me," he flashed his lights. I was confident he would not abandon me. As I was going over to his, I noticed a group of 5 people walking out of the building, scouring the parking lot for me. They immediately started running in my direction. Jacob decided not to wait and ripped away from the scene, burning rubber. I'd miraculously escaped with my memories of the night intact. I swear I did not leave you in there alone, Army. How well informed. Several big glances forced me out the door and threw my cell phone to the ground. They told me it was a closed event and that I had not received a formal invitation, so I waited for you all night, if necessary. From the appearance of those guys on your heels, it didn't seem like a friendly approach. I knew you would be there for me. How I counted on you. I iterated. "I always have your back, man. You are aware of this, so what is the story, and where would you like me to take you?" he asked. "Take me to my place," I urged. Then I went on to relate the entire night's happenings. Jacob was stunned beyond measure. He voiced his surprise that Bella could ever betray me in the way she had, and the drug angle was over the top. He simply shook his head at the outrageous betrayal. I explained that my cell phone was left at the gym. I didn't want to waste time attempting to retrieve it, and because I don't have it, no one, including Bella, can use it to contact me, which is a good thing. "What do you want me to do?" Jacob inquired as he pulled in front of my house. "What about parking behind my building?" I imagined Bella would arrive soon if she comes alone. "I'll talk to her while I pack. I'm hoping you'll let me stay at your apartment for a day or two to get my bearings." "Of course you can. You don't even have to ask. But all I have to offer you is a spare couch in my modest flat. The sofa will be excellent." "Jacob, thanks." Bella arrives home well before I leave. I'll face her tonight and explain my intentions if she brings any of the thugs with her. I'll sneak out the back door and accompany you to your place. God, if Jacob said anything as he stopped behind the building. I'd already packed 2 suitcases and was zipping up the second as Bella dashed inside. Thank God you are here. I was worried sick. The penitent woman shouted. You'll be gone when I arrive. Are you here alone or with the 5 clerks you spoke to earlier? Anywhere nearby, I demanded. Nobody else is coming after me. She wins. It's just you and I. I would like to apologize for my behavior earlier tonight. I got caught up in the exhilaration of it all. I hoped against it. I hope you'll win, but I had to play both sides of the fence to ensure that we had at least $220,000 to fund the start of our family. You were fantastic. You put life in his place and demonstrated to everyone what you are capable of. You saved me from a night of excess. Baby, we now own the entire $40,000, and I'm thrilled to be your love slave for the entire night, instead of having to submit to someone else. That is not how I remember it. Bella, I'm sure I heard what you said. Come on, Goliath, take him down. So the boy who is the true man is here. Finish him, so I can have you between my legs. Finish him. Do it now. She had the foresight to glance at the floor for a moment. As I previously stated, I was taking opposing viewpoints. Funny, I don't recall you ever cheering from my side of the fence. You can now spend the rest of your life playing on their side of the fence. After we split, you can duck and suckle any male you choose without my objection. I see divorce. You cannot be serious. All of this tonight was about us raising enough money to start our family. I'd like to have your baby's army, not Goliath's or anybody else's. This was meant to be a one-time occurrence. Goliath swore you had no chance of winning and would forget everything by morning. Yes, divorce. You should have considered the possibility before pursuing the course you did. For those children, you cheated on me. Bella, you set off 5 guys today, but I wasn't one of them, and to make matters worse, you were totally comfortable with having me kept against my will and made it abundantly plain to me that I had married the wrong lady. I have not cheated on you. I have never had intercourse with someone, or it does not count as sex, really. So you're saying it's fine if I give 5 ladies your loss, and you're fine with it. You may call it whatever you want, Bella. But I consider that cheating. Are you unfaithful to your marriage and your wedding vows? And the only reason you're getting stuck by is because he lost the wrestling match against me. Otherwise, you'd have him between your knees right now, all night long, and the tide to the 5 deck you sent off would have dragged me into a stupor, making me forget everything. I will never trust you again in my entire life. We will never have children together. Even if you had $1 million, divorce is the only solution for me. I'll take nothing less. I fumed. She started sobbing uncontrollably. No, you cannot mean that you just said, I'm never going to give up on us. We belong together, indefinitely. We will be a part of each other forever. I'm delighted we're parting ways before we had a baby. It would disgust me to have to deal with people like you. While the child was growing up, there was a sudden knock on the front door. Why don't you go see who this is, sweetheart? Bella politely inquired. I don't care who it is. I just want to go away from this spot inside you. I asserted. That is okay. I will go see who it is. She sweetly offered. Of course, I recognized who it was. I was sure the 5 thugs were on their way to complete the task that had been assigned to them, and I wasn't going to wait for them to finish. I slipped out the back door, carrying my 2 bags, and dashed over to the house car. That was a fortunate escape. I spent the night on the house couch. He was armed and ready to defend his home if it was necessary. Sunday morning, I paid for 2 rather inexpensive round-trip flights to Las Vegas. Jacob and I had various betting options in Sin City. We collected all of the field's discarded betting receipts, which we found on the floor and in garbage cans. Even though I didn't need it all, we didn't stop until we got nearly $40,000 worth. When Bella discovered I was serious about divorcing her, I was confident she would pursue the money, at least on a 50-50 split basis. I wasn't going to let her profit from her sleazy, whoring behavior. Perhaps all of her duck companions agreed to share the wins with her, but I never did. I cancelled work on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I thought I needed to move rapidly. I went to the first attorney who could see me on short notice. Lincoln Price advised me that a simple divorce would cost around $4,000, $4,500. I handed him $5,000 in cash and requested a receipt. I explained that the extra tip I was giving him was for the stove service. I knew he'd give me something when he talked, and I felt comfortable knowing I had a shark on my hands. He suggested he could serve her at the gym on Tuesday afternoon. The sooner the better. We only had 2 credit cards in our names, so I cancelled both of them. Fortunately, neither of them had to balance the balances in our bank and savings accounts, which I believe were worth battling over, so I didn't touch them, but I did open a new bank account in my name alone and requested that all future checks be deposited directly into the new account. I did cancel service over the phone. It was a comfort to limit your access to me. I did purchase a burner phone for interim usage until I decided what I was going to do. The phone number was only shared with those I trusted, namely Jacob and my parents. Tuesday, I went apartment looking. I found a decent, reasonably priced unit. Close to my place of business, my parents would have gladly taken me in, but I'm too independent to return home right now. They were startled to learn about Bella's actions. I did not tell them everything, only that she had opted to provide others sexual favors, and I couldn't take it. They were quite disappointed in her and understood why I left her. I did ask for another favor from my pal Jacob. On Wednesday, we utilized his pickup truck to transport my possessions from my prior apartment with Bella to my new one throughout the day, so I wouldn't have to interact with her. I wanted all conversations to go through Lincoln, my attorney. That did not work out as I had hoped. She must have followed me home from work one day, since she knocked on my door within 30 seconds of entering my new flat. After 10 minutes of incessant door knocking, I eventually let her in. Whatever you want to say. Bella, get it over with and leave. I'm ready to prepare some supper, and you are not welcome. Why did you have me serve the divorce papers? I told you I would do it. Regardless, do not waste my time asking questions, the answers. I explained why I did what I did. I did it first. Maybe I went about things all wrong. I admit it, but never, not for a single second, did I expect it to blow up in my face the way it has. Okay, thanks. I overheard what you said. You can now leave. I urge. Please, Army. 30 minutes? Give me 30 minutes. And if you still want me to go after that, I can. I gave her a perceptive look as I placed a blank sheet of paper and a pen in front of her. I'll give you 30 minutes, if you give me anything first. As a gesture of good faith, of course, she offered a name. I need the names, addresses, and marital statuses of the 5 men you set off. In addition, I want the lights, home address, and marital status. You provide me the information, and you'll have your 30 minutes. I tried. That is something I cannot do. Army shrink is anything but that. I'm concerned you'll pursue men who will not end well for you. I can't risk the possibility of getting in trouble for this. I see, so since you appear to be compelled to make unilateral judgments for my benefit, I will reciprocate. Bella, you must leave right now, because I cannot be held accountable for your well-being. I cannot take the chance. Now leave, and never darken my door again. I emphasized, but let me go. It was evident that preserving her lovers, her intimate companions, was more important than repairing our relationship. As she went, without saying anything else, simply silenced the tears. At the very least, I hoped for a temporary vacation from her excessive demands. Lincoln, my attorney, informed me that Bella had hired her own legal counsel, who, as friends with the judge, was able to persuade the judge to order that I attend a minimum of 8 Coops counseling sessions with the goal of reconciliation, even without a hearing. Lincoln was startled that the judge would do this. However, judges are given a great deal of discretion in divorce situations. We lived in an extremely conservative neighborhood that granted divorces. At the very least, Lincoln was able to secure my preferred counselor. He nominated someone he thought would be impartial and fair. I chose a male counselor to moderate the 90-minute sessions. During the first session, after hearing Bella's apology for misunderstanding and appeal that nothing had occurred, she was hostile, insisting that nothing had happened, and my charges were founded on jealousy. After hearing that pile of trash from the wonderful men that work at the gym with her, my job became much easier. Instead of calling her a liar and making further accusations, I decided to adopt a different approach. I admitted that I had fallen out of love with her and couldn't handle the prospect of spending another day in her company. I informed her and the counselor that I believed she was anorexic and ugly, and that any children we might have had would have been awful. I played the shower card, claiming that any affection I previously had for her had turned to hatred. She sobbed loudly at these new revelations, denying my expressed emotions. Although surprised, the counselor warned Bella about the impropriety of suppressing my sentiments. During the second session, I was asked what I disliked about Bella so that she could work on specific areas to improve our relationship. I informed her that she would need substantial plastic surgery on her face to entirely change her appearance, as well as change her hair color to a long flowing red. I stated she has the body of a 16-year-old babysitter, and I believe she wants me to be intimate with the teenager. I advise her to gain £50, and then we can talk. The counselor argued against my provocative position, claiming that most men would value Bella's fitness level. I then stated that all of those other males were more than welcome to her. I have a third session. He asked us to make a list of any attributes or characteristics that we liked about each other or found appealing in some way. I mocked the exercise by listing only one positive attribute. She read off her lengthy list of my wonderful qualities, hoping to boost my ego. I completely ignored the ravings, and when she asked to read what I had written, I told her that the only positive thing I could think of was that she politely closed the bathroom door whenever she went to jump. They both seemed upset by my rudeness. The rest of our sessions were spent with me convincing them that there are no words that can make me fall in love with her again. I insisted that marrying her was the biggest mistake of my life. When asked what kind of woman appealed to me, I explained that I was interested in several Asian women that I might ask out after getting my divorce. Bella demanded that I provide the names and locations of the other women. I simply stated, "You give me the list I ask for, and I will give you mine." The following week, I requested the list stage from her. "Okay, Amy, I gave you what you asked for now. It's your turn to return the favor and provide me with the list of women you mentioned last week." "Fair enough," I said, as I sat encompassing the list and passing it to her. "What the hell?" she inquired in confusion. "This is a list of elderly women in their 60s and 70s, and not a single one is Asian." Bella observed. "Did you think I said Asian?" "No, silly. I said I had my eye on several elderly women whom I might ask out later." I chuckled. "The only Asian woman I know is happily married to Bill Fremont and has 3 children, and she wouldn't look at me twice." Bella was perplexed and gave me mixed looks. On the one hand, she appeared relieved that I had not expressed any interest in another woman, yet she, on the other hand, was furious that I had taken advantage of her insecurities in order to coerce her into providing the requested list. This list would help me save time and money on APIs. The onslaught began. Bella must have launched an all-out campaign with every friend and acquaintance I know to persuade me to reconcile and give her a second chance. Many of the people who approached me were longtime friends I'd known for years. She even persuaded my parents to do her bidding deciding that Bella had persuaded them of her genuine repentance and that I should seriously consider giving her another chance. I did not want to lose all of my friends by isolating myself or simply selling them. I took a slightly more subtle approach, sticking airboats in my ears whenever her name came up in conversation and turning up the volume without saying anything. My message was effectively conveyed several times, and the incidents quickly subsided. She never convinced Jacob. However, he was firmly rooted in my camp. The fact that none of the names on the list had been the target of my physical attack encouraged Bella that I was starting to come around and put the hurtful acts behind me, which could lead to me being imprisoned. However, the counseling sessions ended with no breakthroughs that led to reconciliation. Bella begged me again to forgive her and give her one last chance. She gave a teary, emotional performance that would persuade anyone but me. The counselor then asked for my final response. Bella, would you respond to the 5 voice calls she had received? Gerald was something precious that I had mistakenly thought was mine alone. Our marriage will never recover from that, since you revealed that my belief and your commitment were merely a fantasy. All I've ever had was wishful thinking. I no longer want the kind of love you have to offer. I'm confident that men will line up to get between your legs. I won't be among them. Good luck on your search. Our marriage has died. Please let it go. I got up from my chair and left her sobbing and shaking her head. I didn't look back. I suspected her rage was fueled by my repeated rejection. She had her attorney file an appeal for the legal disclosure of all financial assets, specifically the 40 grand. She was requesting half of it. Through my attorney, I provided 5 grand receipts for his divorce services, $1,000 in receipts for mine and Jacob's trip to Las Vegas, which included airfare, taxi service, and meals, as well as $34,000 in receipts for lost bets. On the same day, the entire 40 grand was legally accounted for. She and her attorney argued that I shouldn't have blown her half, but my attorney reminded everyone, one, that the money was spent before she was served with divorce papers. Therefore, the total winnings were mine to do with as I pleased as a gesture of goodwill. I told Lincoln to let her keep all of the small amounts in our checking and savings accounts. It made her feel as though she had won in some small way against me. She would never learn that I was still sitting on most of the winnings. A divorce hearing was arranged. For 2 weeks hence, I felt that the timing was right. For my next move to career services, I had copies of the audio recordings given to the wives of 4 of the folks who had received blue jobs from Bella. The 5th guy was unmarried but had a girlfriend. I shared details of the happenings of that night and asked them to remember back if the individual had made preparations to remain out all night that particular night. For evidence corroboration, the girls might affirm with Bella if they wished her to substantiate the blue jobs. I heard that 3 of the 5 were kicked out of the family for an unknown duration, but no connections were permanently damaged. They told their partners that all they did was obtain a blue job and never responded with Bella in any form. It was entirely one-sided. I also guaranteed that Gerald Goliath Jenkins' wife received a copy of the unedited audio tapes as well. He was my major aim, because the entire contest idea and recommendation that I be drove down memory white was all his. Apparently, he had been unfaithful twice. Before the third was the charm, as they say she forgiven him in the past. Owing to their 2 tiny children, she wasn't about to repeat that mistake. The divorce decree between Dawson and Bella Bostic was finally approved. Alimony was not necessary because the chip is Bella's source of income. I was pleased with that. Right after the divorce was finalized, Lincoln informed me that I cannot sue Jim for compensation because they do not have a no fraternization policy. So I did the next best thing I could think of. I went to the local press and revealed my full narrative from start to finish, including names, Stokes Fitness Palace, fired Goliath and Bella. Due to negative press surrounding the event, I understood I was probably the reason they threw in together, but it didn't bother me anymore. As it turned out, Goliath had originally intended to reunite with his wife. He adores his children almost as much as he enjoys playing baseball. Just as Bella did with me, he testified to his wife that he hadn't had sex with Bella yet, but he couldn't deny that the records of my winning the arm wrestling event were the only reason. He tried to convince her that he threw the contest on purpose because he couldn't complete it. He was certain that if he had anything more to do with Bella, his wife would never reconsider his position, so he abruptly ended all contact with Bella. Bella returned to work as a waitress at Higgins' restaurant. I was always a good tipper when I visited the business, and the females would battle over where I would sit. I continued to tip generously while being served there. Bella attempted to communicate with me several times, but I ignored her. She immediately received the message the other females did not want her to drive away a regular customer like me. Jacob cautiously approached me one day, telling me it was time to come out of my shell and start living again. If I'm being honest, I felt the loss of company really strongly. He informed me he was going to set me up on a blind date this Saturday night. How could I refuse my dearest buddy who had stood by me through thick and thin? I owed him civility and respect. So I grudgingly consented to his request this once, before leaving. He requested if I may borrow $1,000 without hesitation. I agreed, offering more if he required it. After all, he saved my hide that night at the gym and has provided friendship support ever since. As I handed him the cash, I explained that it was a gift, not a loan. I did not want to get a dime back. He walked away, giving me a weird smile. He had been evasive and secretive. Whenever I asked about the date, he asked me to come to his residence at 7:00 p.m. Saturday, dressed casually, he would meet me at the door and present me to my blind date. He stated that his girlfriend Melinda was equally involved and excited as he was. Melinda was a wonderful girl, and I honestly had no idea why they hadn't married yet. They were the perfect fit, if there ever was one. I dressed casually and traveled to Howell's apartment. There were a lot of cars parked all around, but there was one available spot directly in his driveway that you let me park in. We had the brouhaha. Gary happily guided me into his boat. There was nothing going on in the house that I could detect yet. Jacob took me below to his basement. I heard some shushing. Just as we entered into his basement pool area, where he and I had spent many hours, I was surprised to see Teddy with several incredibly lovely ladies, all of whom were wearing bathrobes. I recognize a number of the ladies from grade school, some of whom I haven't seen in years. "Hello, ladies," I anxiously chimed. "Hello, Amy." They tried to respond in unison, in cheerful sing-song tones, as melodically as possible. "What's happening here are all of you beauties, my blind dates," I chuckled. As I was held down on the floor, the women simply giggled back at me. "Not quite, Amy. I sincerely doubt you could manage all of these beauties at once." He sympathized. Melinda assisted Jacob with the following phase. "Okay, gals, time for the big unveiling and parade. Let's show our stuff for the champion." She instructed the girls. They had apparently practiced before my arrival, pulling off their ties and setting them aside. I noticed 12 lovely women standing in front of me, dressed conservatively and elegantly. One-piece sits. The bikinis were exposing enough that I could admire the sheets and contours of each one. However, we are not, in any sense. I was instantly impressed. This was reminiscent of Bella's undressing to show her trashy postage stamp tiny bikini. But these ladies were 100 times more elegant than Bella had been that night. Jacob started again. Amy, all of these females know what happened to you and how you humiliated Goliath that night at the gym, so you're sort of a folk hero to them. They are aware that you are currently a free agent. So Melinda and I did some brainstorming and came up with what we think is an excellent concept. She and I hand-picked women you see here tonight. They are all single. Neither of them is in a committed relationship. As you can see, each one represents a vision of beauty. Melinda and I invited these girls to compete in an arm wrestling match. Tonight, this is a more entertaining competition than a tough one. No one here tonight is a bodybuilder or weightlifter. They are all physically fit and take good care of themselves, but everyone here expects to have a great time. Jacob continued. They are here for 3 reasons. 1 is to have fun, 2 winners will get monetary rewards, and 3 will be blind dates for the night. The overall winner receives a cash award of $500 second place, $200 third, $70 for $50 in 5th place, wins $40, everyone else in 6th through 12th place will receive $20 each, primarily to cover gas costs. The total cash for tonight's event is $11,000. Thank you for sponsoring this event. That was very nice of you. You, Jacob chuckled. I said that I knew you were up to something. I had no notion what it was. Jacob said, Okay, ladies, you all know what's going on tonight, but our friend Amy is completely surprised by everything. So if you'll let me, I'd want to explain how this will work for him. Amy, this must be a 2-round elimination contest, like those you are used to. We'd prefer you to start each battle and Linda will referee and call the winners during the arm wrestling match once the overall winner has been determined. The females will have a greater chance to get to know you. She can be your blind date for the night, but she is under no obligation to do so. When the chemistry isn't there, we don't put too much pressure on any of the females here tonight, so the second place gets a shot. And so on, to be honest, I don't believe it'll be a problem because they're all treating you like a delicacy. He chuckled. I was eager for the adventure. I was no stranger to arm wrestling, and this would be a fun way to set up a blind date. Nobody, even myself, knew who would win. How was correct? Every lady was lively and lovely. I had no idea. There were 12 ladies available for dating in our region, so this was a really welcome surprise. There was a wrestling table put up next to the pool table. Jacob allocated a number to each contestant and used a random number generator to choose the matches. The ladies would sit on opposite sides of the table, linking their hands together in appropriate form and holding them straight in the center between them before saying, Go Melinda and how we, right? This was a lot of fun. It was all fun. And even the losers laughed and enjoyed the banter. Each of the girls requested for a kiss on the cheek for good luck, and I was more than pleased to give the winner was chosen. Bobby Superior received the $500 first prize in less than 30 minutes of competing. Bobby Sue looks extremely similar to Hannah Jeter. The actress saw her in her modest one-piece. The swimsuit was a visual feast. She anxiously looked across at me after getting her plastic trophy as part of the monetary prize. Will Amy? I have never asked a man out on a date before, so this is uncharted ground for me. I'd be thrilled to be your blind date tonight if you're up for it, she uttered. I gladly accept your wonderful gift. Bobby Sue, I look forward to getting to know each other better. She grinned and kissed me on the cheek. Let me change out of this bikini quickly so we can go wherever you want to take me. Jacob and Melinda strongly recommend you. That's good enough for me. While Bobby Sue was changing, 7 other girls approached me, reminded me of their names, gave me a card with their contact information, and advised me to call them if things didn't work out with Bobby Sue. I treated Bobby Sue to a wonderful meal in a movie on our first date. The remainder of the girls had a party with Jacob and Linda playing pool as one would expect Bobby Sue, and I hit it off from the start. She neatly filled in the void left by Bella. We had numerous debates regarding fidelity. For my prior partner throughout the years, I had to time her as well, so we both felt the consequences of dishonesty and treachery. Bobby Sue Baker became Bobby Sue Bostick. She worked as a sonographer for our county court. Kwang was well respected, as I still had the most of my earnings. From the 40 grand contest, we chose not to wait to have children within 5 years. We'd had one of each. We continued to visit Higgins' restaurant, and Bella worked there. I could see tears well up in her eyes as she watched the family, who should have been hers, joyously enjoy themselves. Thank you for listening to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, write a comment below with your thoughts on what transpired. Take